This seed has quite a lot of weird yet amazing different types of things across the entire world, but starting off at spawn, obviously we can see we're in a forest and spawning right in front of a worm portal, which is absolutely fantastic. What a way to start off in a Minecraft world with let's be honest, like nothing too out of the ordinary or nothing too spectacular, but technically some things to help get yourself started. And speaking of getting yourself started, in the case you want to use this, get yourself inside of the nether, then what do you necessarily get? Well, the answer to that is something that's maybe not too special or anything like that, but it still isn't too bad of a spawn, all things considered. Just be wary of the piglins and everything like that. But yeah, what about all these weird types of things we see across the entirety of this one seed? Well, heading off in which way? In this direction, we're going to see quite a number of different types of, generations, which isn't out of the ordinary on its own, but is kind of out of the ordinary when you combine it with other different types of things. Because sitting itself right here, we have ourselves a mangrove forest. Nothing too special right now, but heading yourself right past that, we get ourselves a village right on the edge of that mangrove forest, which means you are going to get yourself not only plains villages, but also mangrove forest villages. Yeah, that alone is quite the astounding feat. But that's not the only astounding feat around here, because head yourself back into the plains biome. We're eventually going to see that, yeah, there is this plains biome, but right over here, there's more mangrove forest sitting itself right here, right in this entire sphere of generation. Yeah, mangrove forest right in the center with almost a perfect circle of normal generation of plains, of savanna, and stuff like that. And right on the outside is almost entirely nothing but more mangrove forest, with just some exceptions here or there. Yeah, in the case you wanted to set up like somewhere across this entire seed, then maybe this might be a pretty decent place on doing it in. Maybe, considering the fact that not only you have that ring, but you also have quite a bit of a generation sitting itself right over here too. And sitting itself right off in this direction also is not only a bunch more mangrove forest, but also a little bit more savanna sitting itself right over there. And heading itself right past that is eventually going to be this one desert village sitting itself right over here, which is pretty much also like that one plains village sitting itself right on the very edge. But unfortunately, this time we aren't going to get any mangrove villages inside of here, but we are going to get ourselves some desert villages, but also some savanna villages. So you are going to get a good mixture of different types of villagers and things like that across these two specific villages alone. And on top of that, this one also does happen to have just a blacksmith sitting itself literally right here. So in the case you want like diamond horse armor or some iron or apples or something like that, then this might be the good place on doing it in. And something else that's also pretty good in doing it in is heading yourself off in this direction. We're eventually going to find ourselves, again, way more mangrove forest. Like, seriously, there is a lot of mangrove forest all across this one seed. And on top of that, there's quite a lot of deserts sitting itself all across this one seed. And some desert temples. Yeah, some desert temples sitting itself right on the very edge of a mangrove forest. And do you count this as a desert? I mean, you technically have to, considering yourself, you have the dead bushes, you have like the dry grass and things like that, but do you necessarily really call this a desert, considering there's no cactus, considering there's nothing else other than the sand, other than these two bits of plants and things like that? I don't really know. I don't really know. But in the case you don't want to have like too much hassle and get yourself inside of a desert temple, then I guess this one might be a good place on going to or something like that. And if you wanted more of a desert, then just add like 300 or 400 blocks off in that direction to find yourself everything desert related you want to find over there. And another village. And speaking of more villages, head yourself off in this direction. We get ourselves this one village. Yeah, we get a lot of villages, but this one in particular is very strange because this one is literally in the middle of the ocean. There's seriously nothing here. There's no desert. There's no like landmass. All there is the village just floating itself literally in the middle of the ocean. You get yourself some grass, you get yourself some dirt and things like that, but other than that, you don't really get much of anything, which is quite the phenomenon, if I do say so myself. Like, you often aren't going to see something like this in every single ocean, in every single seed, but for one reason or another, you do get yourself a small desert village in the middle of the ocean, literally right next to a shipwreck, which is, for whatever reason, floating right above the water. Why is this happening right here? Why is this happening right next to that ocean desert village? I don't know. I don't know. But again, it does make it just a little bit easier getting yourself everything you could find inside of a shipwreck. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any signs of any maps or anything like that. But I guess just the eyesight alone of seeing something like this, literally just barely floating itself on the surface of the ocean, that's another weird oddity inside this one seed, on top of the several others we mentioned across the entirety of the seed. But yeah, which thing do you like most inside this one seed? There's quite a lot to choose from, so let me know down below in the comments. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.